The Rome summit that will be held this weekend was organized by the FAO, and it is an important time to strengthen the development of agriculture in poor countries. It corresponds to an awareness within the international community that occurred around 2007, about 18 months ago, to put an end to the policies that have been put in place since the 80s. These promoted the increase of debt for poor countries in order to develop the export sector. And then they say stop, and you realize that all this has led us straight into a wall, and now we must go back to the strengthening of local food production, including family farming. 75% of the planet's poorest people live, or rather survive, on agriculture, so it is obviously an extremely important sector, and to be able to live on it, we must... There is often a lack of investment, a lack of funds. Here's a concrete example. They will be forced to sell their ox, the only ox they have to cultivate their land. They will be forced to sell it if the crop fails to be able to feed their family. A study that was conducted by an American NGO has elected Luxembourg as the top country of those fighting effectively against hunger, so we can congratulate that. It is true that the Grand Duchy spends about 1% of gross national income to aid global development, and among the aid for development, the country gives great importance to the fight against hunger. But what is fighting against hunger? Of course, one of the elements is to take part in emergency assistance. This is what Doctors Without Borders do. When there's a food crisis, it's important to send food. But fighting against hunger is primarily to enable people to feed themselves. We, in the opulence that is ours, the overall level here, I really think that through the traveling I'm led to do in Africa, that Western Europe, and Luxembourg in particular, are a kind of privileged haven in today's world. We must be aware of this, it's very important. Then from there, it is also important to be supportive in providing funds, because of course the money is still the main problem, and so supporting the NGOs that fight against hunger is a way of fighting against hunger. It is important to know that, for example, we may have good intentions. We say that we have too much milk. What are we going to do instead of spraying the milk in the fields? Well, we're going to send it powdered to Africa. It's a very bad idea. Why? Because Africa also produces milk, and if we send the milk for free, we believe that we're making a good move because it's giving things out for free. But what actually happens over there is that we are killing the local production. There are people who are trying to live from their work by raising cows that give no more than 5 liters of milk per day. They have no more than 10 cows, so it's very small, and then, all of a sudden, there's free milk on the local markets. It creates poverty for the people who try to produce milk locally. You have to know that only 10% of the hunger problems in the world today are problems related to wars, and famines represent 90% of the world hunger problems. It's a structural problem of lack of access to food, lack of production in some countries. I'll take the example of Mali, that's a Sahelian country, with the ability to be self-sufficient food-wise, except that, since the 80s, we've asked them to develop the cotton sector, an export sector. Today, cotton is worthless. So producing cotton means that there is no currency income, but it also means that there are huge areas devoted to cotton production that cannot be devoted to food crops like rice. And suddenly we have to import food. It costs money, and the rice sold on local markets is far too expensive for people to buy it. So Mali has to choose, and that's what is being done now, to promote the rice sector, and then it will be self-sufficient. That is how to fight effectively against hunger, by reconverting the model of farming that was developed in the 80s. That's the essential point.